Pinhead stands as one of the most enduring and recognizable figures in modern horror cinema. As the calm and articulate leader of the Cenobites in Clive Barker's Hellraiser universe, he occupies a unique position among horror antagonists. He is often simplified into a single striking image, a bald figure marked by pins, driven into his skull, clad in black leather and speaking with cold authority. Yet reducing Pinhead to a visual gimmick overlooks the depth of the character and the ideas he represents. He is not merely a monster who inflicts suffering for pleasure. He is a symbol of consequence, ritual, and the dangers inherent in pursuing extreme experience without restraint. Pinhead's significance lies in the convergence of several themes: desire, pain, discipline, transcendence, and the erosion of humanity through obsession. His origins as a human being, his transformation into a Cenobite, his service under the extra-dimensional intelligence known as Leviathan, and his function within the films, together form a coherent philosophical portrait. This video examines who Pinhead was before his transformation, how and why he became a Cenobite, what role he fulfills within the narrative and cosmology of Hellraiser, what Leviathan did to his identity, and how his physical appearance reinforces his symbolic function. The goal is to present a clear and comprehensive understanding of Pinhead as both character and concept.
Hi there, and welcome to Richard Barron Horror. If you enjoy all things Hellraiser and more, why don't you go ahead and give us a like and subscribe to our channel if you dare.
What kind of doors?
Doors to the pleasures of heaven or hell. I didn't care which.
Mind is a labyrinth, ladies and gentlemen, that's all. While the paths of the brain are plainly visible, its ways deceptively apparent, its destinations are unknown.
Chapter 1. Elliott Spencer, the man before the transformation.
Hi there, and welcome to our deep dive into what Leviathan did to the infamous Pinhead.
Before he became Pinhead, he was a human being named Elliott Spencer. He was a British officer who served during World War I, a conflict that profoundly shaped his worldview and psychological state. Life in the trenches exposed him to sustained violence, mass death, and the collapse of moral certainty. Like many veterans of the war, Elliott returned to civilian life changed in ways that ordinary society could not easily accommodate. The routines, values, and comforts of peacetime existence felt hollow and insufficient after what he had witnessed. Elliott's experience of war left him deeply disillusioned. Traditional structures of meaning, including religion, social order, and domestic stability, no longer offered answers to his questions about suffering and existence. He had seen the extremes of human capability for destruction and endurance, and that exposure fostered a fixation on sensation and experience as sources of truth. Rather than seeking healing or reintegration, Elliott pursued intensity. He became interested in pushing beyond conventional limits in search of something that might feel real or revelatory.
There, do you see it? Just beyond the sand. Remarkable, it's unlike anything I've ever... My word. What in heaven's name? Open the box.
Accounts of Elliott Spencer portray him as disciplined, intelligent, and self-controlled. These traits are not erased by his transformation, but instead amplified and redirected. Even as a human, he was drawn to systems, rituals, and structures that promised access to deeper knowledge.
In nomine veritatis occulti, fiat manifestum, veni per arcana in luce et umbra.
His rejection of ordinary morality was not rooted in chaos or cruelty, but in dissatisfaction. He wanted to understand what lay beyond the boundaries that governed ordinary human life. This mindset made him vulnerable to the lure of the Lament Configuration and the world it promised to open. Understanding Elliott Spencer as a traumatized seeker rather than a reckless thrill chaser is crucial. He was not merely chasing pleasure, he was attempting to confront the meaning of pain and sensation after surviving a war that had stripped those concepts of their familiar context. This internal struggle laid the foundation for his eventual transformation and explains why the being he becomes is defined by order rather than madness.
Brave girl. You've probably never shaken hands with a ghost before.
Chapter 2, The Lament Configuration and the Birth of a Cenobite. The Lament Configuration, often referred to as the puzzle box, is the gateway between the human world and the realm of the Cenobites. It is not an object that simply summons monsters. It is a test, an invitation, and a contract. Those who solve it demonstrate a willingness to cross boundaries in pursuit of experience that transcends ordinary sensation. When Elliott Spencer solved the Lament Configuration, he did so deliberately. Unlike characters who approach the box out of curiosity or desperation, Elliott sought it out with intention. He believed that beyond its mechanisms lay a truth or experience that could answer his unresolved questions. What he encountered was Leviathan, the extra-dimensional intelligence that governs the labyrinth and creates the Cenobites. The transformation that followed was total. Elliott's body was reshaped, his nervous system reconfigured, and his perception of pain and pleasure fundamentally altered. In the Cenobite state, pain and pleasure are no longer opposites, but expressions of the same continuum. Sensation becomes an end in itself, stripped of moral judgment and emotional context. The human framework that distinguishes suffering from ecstasy collapses. This process is both ritualistic and institutional. Elliott was not destroyed and replaced, he was repurposed. His identity was overwritten with function, and his individuality was subordinated to a larger system. While traces of his former self persisted, particularly in his speech patterns and composure, they were buried beneath layers of conditioning and obligation. Elliott Spencer ceased to exist as an autonomous individual and became Pinhead, a servant of Leviathan's order.
My name was Spencer, Elliott Spencer.
Chapter 3, Pinhead's Role Among the Cenobites. As Pinhead, Elliott Spencer assumes a position of authority within the Cenobite hierarchy. The Cenobites operate as agents of Leviathan, responding to those who open the Lament Configuration and enforcing the consequences of that action. Their role is not arbitrary. They do not seek out victims at random. They respond to summons, and their interventions follow a rigid logic rooted in their interpretation of law, balance, and desire. Pinhead functions as both adjudicator and enforcer. He addresses those who open the box with formal language, explaining the nature of the experience they have requested, whether they fully understood it or not. His demeanor is calm and deliberate, conveying the impression that what follows is not cruelty, but procedure.
To hear him confess himself, then maybe.
This framing is central to the horror of Hellraiser. The Cenobites do not see themselves as villains. They see themselves as facilitators of an extreme form of transcendence.
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Within the films, Pinhead often serves as the embodiment of inevitability. Once summoned, he represents a point of no return. His presence signifies that a boundary has been crossed and that the system governing such transgressions is now in effect. In this sense, he functions less like a traditional antagonist and more like a cosmic official. As the series progresses, hints of Pinhead's former humanity surface. In later films, his identity as Elliott Spencer is explicitly acknowledged, and internal conflict becomes more apparent. These moments suggest that the transformation into a Cenobite is not entirely irreversible, or at least not entirely complete. Pinhead becomes a tragic figure, bound to a role he once sought but can no longer escape. He enforces a system that has consumed him, carrying out acts of extreme violence while remaining constrained by Leviathan's will.
Now, where were we? Send me to hell!
Chapter 4, Leviathan and the Restructuring of Identity. Leviathan is the central intelligence behind the Cenobites and the Labyrinth. It is an alien, geometric entity that values order, symmetry, and extremity. Leviathan does not act out of malice or compassion. It enforces a logic that is fundamentally incompatible with human morality. When Leviathan transformed Elliott Spencer, it did more than alter his physical form. It restructured his identity around function and obedience. Pinhead exists to serve Leviathan's interpretation of balance, responding to human acts of excess with experiences that strip those acts of their original context and reframe them as ritualized sensation. Leviathan's influence is evident in every aspect of Pinhead's existence. His speech is formal and precise, his movements are controlled, his actions follow established rules. Even his appearance reflects Leviathan's aesthetic priorities, emphasizing symmetry, geometry, and deliberate modification over chaos or decay. Despite this conditioning, remnants of Elliott Spencer remain. These remnants are a source of tension within the character. They suggest that Leviathan's control is not absolute, and that the human desire for meaning cannot be entirely erased. This tension adds depth to Pinhead's role, transforming him from a simple embodiment of horror into a study of identity subsumed by system. Chapter 5. Physical Appearance and Symbolic Design. Pinhead's physical appearance is one of the most iconic in horror, but it is also one of the most deliberate. Every aspect of his design reinforces his role as an agent of ritualized consequence rather than random brutality. The grid pattern carved into his head and face creates a sense of order imposed on flesh. The pins driven into the intersections of that grid are evenly spaced, producing an unsettling symmetry. This design suggests surgical precision rather than sadistic excess. The pins resemble both instruments of punishment and symbols of authority, giving his head a crown-like quality. His skin is pale and taut, marked by scars that appear intentional and controlled. There is little blood or decay. The effect is clinical rather than grotesque. His eyes are focused and unemotional, reinforcing the impression that he is evaluating rather than indulging. Pinhead's clothing further emphasizes his role. The black leather garments resemble ceremonial attire or a uniform. They obscure the body while framing it as an object of discipline and control. Elements resembling bondage or surgical restraints visually echo the themes of pain, restraint, and ritual central to the series. Unlike other Cenobites, Pinhead rarely relies on visible weapons. His authority and composure serve as his primary instruments. Chapter 6. Themes and Interpretations. Pinhead embodies a convergence of philosophical and thematic concerns. He represents the fusion of pain and pleasure into a single mode of experience, challenging conventional distinctions between suffering and desire. He serves as a warning about the consequences of unchecked obsession and the pursuit of transcendence without ethical grounding. His ritualistic behavior and formal language frame horror as bureaucracy. Suffering is not chaotic but organized, administered according to rules that are alien yet consistent. This approach strips victims of the comfort of randomness. What happens to them is not an accident, but a response to choice. At the center of Pinhead's story lies the question of humanity. Elliott Spencer sought meaning beyond ordinary life and found himself absorbed into a system that erased his autonomy. Whether fragments of his humanity can ever be recovered remains ambiguous. This ambiguity is central to the character's lasting impact. Conclusion. Pinhead is far more than a visual icon or a conventional villain. He is the culmination of a human journey shaped by trauma, obsession, and the search for meaning. From Elliott Spencer's disillusionment after war to the Cenobites' role as an enforcer of cosmic order, Pinhead exists at the intersection of desire and consequence. He can be read simultaneously as villain, victim, and functionary. He inflicts unimaginable suffering, yet he does so as part of a system he no longer controls. His calm authority masks a deeper tragedy, the loss of self to an ideology of extremity. Pinhead endures because he represents a fear that goes beyond physical pain. He embodies the terror of discovering that the answers we seek may demand more than we are capable of giving, and that the pursuit of ultimate experience can lead not to enlightenment, but to permanent transformation.
Destination nowhere, a half mile of paradise. Tell me what you find there beyond the sea, gold disguise, 3-dimensional rainbows right before your eyes. Draw the shades and watch these wolves and see right power of love is here to stay. Is this penthouse life a frame of mind? Oh no. Now the screen's in focus.